Hey, everybody. Hello and welcome. This is my podcast. I am your host, Tamiya Robles. This is Adoption Exposed. Thank you for joining me. So, we are on this long journey of how my adoption and me searching for the truth has been going thus far. It's been pretty colorful, as you can see. I'm so glad I could laugh at this. I'm not one of those people where it just killed me. It didn't. Like I said before, if you've been following, I've kind of expected uh, not good things because, like I said, my mother was looking to adopt a child from the worst case scenario and the worst environments, and she got me. So, this is what comes with my makeup and my genetics, and it is what it is. So, now we're going to talk about when I physically met my biological incubator. That whole story within itself was, I don't want to say traumatizing. It was heavy. It was a lot. It was exciting. It was nerve wracking. It was curious. It was so many different emotions, right? So, anywho, her and our relationship at this time, I still wasn't talking to my biological half sister. Again, we didn't develop a relationship until like later. She didn't call me. I didn't call her. She explained later why she didn't really call me like that. It was just a lot for her to deal with for the most part, which was cool. I didn't care anyway. I wasn't looking for her. Now, at this time, my biological incubator, we were kind of cool, but it was to me dying off because she was just very negative and I wasn't feeling that. And I wanted to keep her around just in case I had some extra questions that popped up. But she called me. She would try to claim my kids as her grandkids. And then it went too far where one time she went shopping on this huge shopping spree and she bought my kids all of this stuff. And then she wanted my address so she could send it or for us to meet up so she could give it to me. I'm like, no, I don't know you. You're a stranger. I don't care for you. This is nah, like this is sick. You're crossing the line. This is too much. And she got mad. She got mad at me, which as you notice in this story, more and more people just don't like me. Like just us adoptees were just naturally hated. Like from the rip, some of us look at adoption as we were unwanted from the beginning. So, as we go through life, some of us are resilient to not being liked or being the black sheep. And I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't usually care when people don't like me. I'm just so over it. And I think it comes from a lot of it just comes from this part, being adopted, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But she just started feeling some type of way. She didn't like the fact that I was not allowing her to claim my children as her grandkids. And I'm like, you have grandkids from your child, your firstborn child. And she didn't like those kids. Like she would talk shit about her own grandkids because I guess they weren't as intelligent as my kids and whatever. That's on you and your parenting. That's how I look at it. Don't be blaming Rashida about how she raises her kids when you didn't raise either one of your children. So what the fuck? Anywho, so eventually the topic came up that we needed to meet each other. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm thinking it's something simple. I think in my head, I'm like, all right, we'll just think of a designated area. I lived in North Jersey at the time. She still lived in Phoenixville. So that was, if you're not familiar, that's North Jersey would have to go southwest of Philadelphia. So let's say it's like a 2.5 hour drive to get to Phoenixville, which isn't too far from King of Prussia, which is closer to Philadelphia, I do believe. I'm trying to think of the map on the top of my head. But the King of Prussia Mall is a huge mall. I think it's like the third largest mall in the US. And it's just a very nice spot. They have really nice restaurants and stuff like that. So we decided to meet there, which is actually still far away from where I was at. So she wanted to meet at Bahama Breeze. I'm like, fine. No, she wanted to meet at the Cheesecake Factory. At that time, I never met at the Cheesecake Factory. I never had cheese. I didn't know what the fuck it was. But before that, she was like, I have an idea. Well, first of all, how do you want to meet? Where do you want to meet at? And I'm like, I don't care. Like, it could be at a bus stop for all I care. I don't know. I just want to see you in person and then go home type of shit and ask you again, why was I adopted? Because I think in my brain, if I saw her in person, I would get the straight answer. Maybe her physically seeing me would like trigger her to tell me the truth. I don't know. I was trying, right? So she said, okay, cool. There's in the King of Prussia area, there's this Motel 6. We can meet at a Motel 6 at King of Prussia. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the Motel 6 in King of Prussia, especially about a year prior or two prior to this. There was a homicide in the Motel 6 that was brutal. It was a brutal homicide in that city. It's like an upper class city. King of Prussia is a very rich town, and things like that just doesn't happen. If it does, it's not advertised. This incident was well known, and it was like some sort of massacre where this a child was murdered, a toddler, matter of fact, an Indian child was murdered. Her grandmother who was watching her was murdered. It was just brutal. And you want to meet there? And I was like, why a Motel 6? I don't like anything ever pertaining to motel. And then Motel 6, like, I'm lost. Why are we meeting here? And she was like, oh, like we started having a beef. Like we had a problem. And she's like, what's wrong with a motel? And I said, because why a motel? Like, we can meet in a parking lot. I don't know how this works, but what the fuck? So she was like, all right, well, we can meet in the Motel 6 lobby. And I'm like, why? And she was like, matter of fact, call Rashida, me again, call Rashida and tell her that we're meeting up and I want to set it up where you see her first and then I'll be waiting in one of the rooms. And it was just, what? I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I don't know you. You probably fuck around, try to kill me. I don't need to meet Rashida. It was just extra and crazy. She's fucking crazy. So I was like, no, I'm cool. I'm all right. I'm all right. You're psycho. Mm-mm. No, ma'am. Right. So then she said she got an attitude, didn't talk to me for a while. Then she talked to me again with a new plan. So then she was like, let's try here. Let's try here. It was just getting more and more weird. And she was adding people. It was just stupid. So what we wound up doing was she wanted to meet at the Cheesecake Factory in King of Prussia. So I'm like, fine. My husband and I will drive down and we'll meet you and that'll be cool. So I'm like, all right, bet, fine, whatever. Before the meeting, I was getting messages on Facebook. I was seeing posts and it was like I'm being tagged by people I don't know. It was kind of strange, right? So what happened was she invited half of Phoenixville to the meet and they were all supposed to be there. I didn't really pay too much attention. I just thought it was weird, but I thought she was weird. And I'm like, you know what? It's probably going to work itself out when I get there. So I'll worry about it when I get there. Boom. So as we're driving, as me and hubby are driving, we're like halfway there. She calls and she has like, it's just craziness and she's upset. And she was like, such and such, uh, something happened and they changed it to Bahama Breeze. But then she said something about a cheesecake. She was like, "You want a cheesecake?" I was like, "No." She was like, "Oh, well, fuck it then," and then hung up. Weird, weird, weird. Don't know. And then she started telling everybody before I met her, mind you, I'm on my way, 2.5 hour drive, and she's talking shit about me before I get there. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So we finally get there. We're at Bahama Breeze. I call her. I'm telling her I'm on my way. I'm telling her my ETA. She says, okay. She called me. She's like, well, we're all here waiting for you. I'm like, who all? Like, I'm supposed to meet you. You know what I mean? She's like, well, Rashida couldn't make it. So and so, I called so and so. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm ignoring it. I don't know what the vibes are. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm almost here. We get there. I don't know what this woman looks like, right? The picture I had was not an up to date picture, by the way. So it was like when she was younger, like around the time maybe a couple years after she had me. So I don't know what she looks like now, right? So my husband and I are standing there, and she didn't give me a name. We don't know. She's not answering her phone, so we're looking like clowns, and we're just waiting around just for this idiot to come and at least acknowledge us. So the restaurant tried to help figure it out for us, and so they were like, maybe it's the people in the back. Like there's this huge family in the back. Like I'll ask them. So lo and behold, they figured it out, I guess, because this woman comes out and she's a short, pudgy woman, and she's like, Tamiya, and I'm like, yeah, like, because I'm so irritated at this point. Like, what? You know what I mean? She was like, oh, it's me, Fatima. I was like, oh, hey, you, hey, you know what I'm saying? And she had her arms out, like, and I was like, high five, we're hugging. I don't hug. Like, me being the Capricorn that I am, I don't like hugging and touching and hold hands and stuff. So it's like, especially now with a stranger, I don't know this lady. You gotta keep in mind, just because I came from her womb doesn't mean I know this lady. You are a stranger, stranger danger, right? So boom, she hugged me. It was awkward for me. I'm 5'10. She's like the size of my parents, like mad short. I'm like, okay, gross. All right. So I'm like, let me get through it and let's see where this goes. So she kind of got cold instantly. I guess she felt I wasn't feeling that shit. Okay. Hubby was supportive, and he was just like, just do you. Whenever you're ready to leave, I'm ready to leave. If you want to turn around, leave now, I'm ready to leave now. If you say fuck these people, I say fuck these people. I was like, cool. So that was reassuring. I get there, we go in the back, they had the VIP section or whatever section, whatever, right? It was just a whole section. And it was this big ass table it was this big ass square table with these strangers sitting around. And there was a seat for hubby on the side, and there was a seat for me. And then the incubator sat like right next to me, like this close to me. And I'm saying that for a reason. This heifer was this close to me, right? So everybody was just staring at me like this, like legit, just staring at me with their eyeballs, didn't blink. Some of them were grinning at me like this. It was just awkward. And I didn't know who they were. And so she didn't introduce us. She didn't say, hello, everyone. This is Tamiya. This is the child I was hiding from you, my pregnancy. And she's here now. And like none of that. But apparently she already told me about them. And I heard eventually that she told the whole town about me. Like the whole town knew of my existence. And some people like didn't believe her. And because they didn't believe her, they wanted to see for themselves that this was real. And they decided to come to Bahama Breeze and stare at me like this. Yeah. So that was creepy, right? Now, in my head, I would thought I was going to be able to talk to her, ask her some questions. And I'm going to be honest with you, that whole time, I think we were there, I'll say respectfully, like 2.5 hours, right? 2, 3 hours. People ate. I thought, well, I wasn't really like hungry. I was more anxious than hungry. I think hubby and I maybe had a drink, maybe. I think that's all we had was a drink. He had a drink, I had a drink or something like that. And that was it. She sat right next to me, right next to me. Okay. We were this close because it was a tight fit. And the whole time she looked down and she had a phone in her hand, just like this, right? So we're going to say this is her phone. Now, I'm her. I'm over here, right? I'm her. So she would say, talk to me real low like this. And then she would do this. And I would see a random flash. And then she would do this. And I'm like, what's this? She was sneaking, taking pictures of me. She would never look at me. She would never say, hey, can I get a picture of you? Can we get a selfie? None of that. She's like doing sneak, click, click, click. It was just mad weird, yo. It was just mad weird. It was psychopathic weird. It was creepy. It was creepy as shit. I didn't say anything. I wasn't saying anything because I felt like as the one who didn't ask to be born, it wasn't my place to initiate a conversation. But other people at the table, they felt as though, I mean, they were curious about the story. They wanted to know, um like more about me. They wanted to know about my husband at the time. They just wanted to confirm the story. And Fatima never said anything like the whole time. She ate her food, didn't say anything. She ordered food, didn't say anything. She didn't say shit. So the one person that was there, I was glad she was there. That's the other person I said that I actually like a lot. Her name was Sadia. Sadia was like, I don't like Fatima. A lot of people just don't like Fatima. Actually, most of the people at the table didn't like Fatima, right? One thing Sadia did that I didn't appreciate is she invited her daughter and her daughter's husband, and her daughter and her daughter's husband are staring at me directly across the table, just staring at me like I'm some disease. And that's how I felt. I don't know her kids. I don't know her husband. It was just odd. And then so I guess if people got food in them, they got relaxed a little bit. This one lady, me and her are cool on Facebook. She started talking to my husband. I guess she was mesmerized by him because he was attractive. You know what I mean? And she was just all on his face, and then she's talking to me, and it was just, I was like, girl, please. And then this other lady was like, kept calling Fatima my mother. And I told y'all, if you don't know, check it out, my other episode. Don't do that. If you know the situation, you know that's not my mother. But at the same time, this is the first time they ever knew I existed. So I wasn't too pissed, but I did correct her. So once I correct you, then you know, like, yo, chill. Don't, that's not my mom. All right. That's not my mother. My mother's at home. Okay. Speaking of my mom, this is how I know my mother is my real mom. Because one thing I would say is when my mother cries, it triggers me. It triggers my soul. That's how I know that's my mom, right? Now, also, my mother and my dad, they always said, if you ever need help or anything finding her, let me know. But I don't want to know about, I don't want to meet them or her or the biological father either. We didn't want to meet them. But they were very supportive of what I was doing. They were supportive of the whole interaction. Now, my mom, I didn't update her and say, "Hey, I talk to Fatima all the time." I didn't want to do that to her as an adoptive parent, who basically planned my whole existence and adoption and all that. I didn't want to do that to her, but I did let her know I was meeting her. It was more of like a factual exchange. And my mom was like, okay, just, if you need anything, I'm here. That's all she really said about it. So I told her, okay. So my parents lived on the outskirts of Philadelphia, just like King of Prussia was on the outskirts of Philadelphia. But in order to get back to New Jersey, I had to leave. I had to go past I had to go past my parents' house. Yeah, I had to go past their exit. So my mom was saying, if you want, when this is over, you can drive and meet and come home and come to our house. And I said, okay, because I was like an hour away. They were the halfway point between my house and in Jersey. So I'm like, it's getting late. It'll be cool. That whole meeting was so annoying and frustrating. Some weird woman that was there, to this day I can't tell you who she is, and she kept saying Fatima was my mom. I kept correcting her. She was got an attitude. She was, I guess, in her brain, I was a teenager, and she was like, "Come here, let me tell you something." And she's going like this, and you're going to respect her, and then I don't have to respect shit, right? So I told the lady, I said, first of all, with all due, I don't know you, don't know her. I've been here all this time. She hasn't said shit to me. Well, you got to understand where she's coming from. I don't have to understand shit as an adoptee. I don't have to understand anything. I don't have to like anything. I don't have to love anything. I don't have to accept anything. I don't have to do shit. The fact that I'm here, everybody should be grateful. But again, it's the attack on the adoptees that I'm not fucking feeling, right? All right, cool. So this happens all the time. Happens all the time. So the lady, while I had to check her, and she simmered the fuck down to the point she had nothing to say. So I went back to my seat, and then it was time to go. So now that it's time to go, this waiter comes out and says, are we doing one big check, or is everybody getting their own check? So everybody's getting their own check. So there was this check for me and my husband, and we were like, oh, who's paying for it because we didn't ask to come here. Again, we could have met you at a parking lot. Mind you, we didn't have an issue with money because we have money. It's the principle. And this woman didn't say shit this whole time until she realized that they didn't give her her dessert. And I'm talking about the incubator. Your biological child that has resurfaced after 30 some years is right next to you, right here. You understand? I'm you, I'm me over here. Like you can't, and you're worried about dessert. And then she's worried about, well, I ain't paying. Da, 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 da. Like even people are like, you're not going to pay for Tamaya and her husband's drink because they didn't even have a meal. I ain't knowing it. Still never looked at me. Sis never looked at me. Never looked at me the whole time. So we were like, don't worry about it. We're good. Like at this point, we knew this was some bullshit and I was glad it was over. I knew in my head I was never going to see this lady ever again in life and I needed to roll out. So sis was like, we paid for it. So my husband went to go pay and I'm like fiddling with my purse and I don't know, preparing to leave. And then she comes up to me and she has her head down low and she said, did you bring pictures of my grandkids? What grandkids? Because I put my head down with her and I said, what grandkids are you referring to? I don't know your grandkids. You have grandkids from Rashida. I don't have their pictures. We're not going to play this game. I already told you my kids are not your grandchildren. We've been through this a schmillion times. And the way you've treated me, you for sure are never going to get their information. Fuck that. Okay. So she asked again, so you didn't bring pictures of your kids? And I said, no, why would I? They're not yours. They're not of you. She got mad, left. No bye, no take care, no block, nothing, right? Matter of fact, she was gone damn near at home, right? So in like 15 minutes, because Phoenixville is not far from King of Prussia. Remember, I'm in Jersey. Me and hubby left. Then we decided, boom, we're going to stop at my parents' house. So you guys will hear I had a very messed up relationship with my mother, but that's still my mom. That's my mom at the end of the day. Period, point blank. And as I got older and I had children, our relationship, it was still iffy, but I allowed it to be tolerable so for the sake of my kids. If I didn't have kids, I probably wouldn't be talking to my mother until her death. But even during death, I probably wouldn't speak to her. That's how our relationship was. But like I said, she was very supportive. And I went to my parents' house. As soon as I laid eyes on my mom, she said, come here, baby. Right. And as soon as she said that, I just cried and cried and cried. And I just released and I just cried. And she was trying to talk to me like, what happened? And, you know, when your baby's crying, you want to know what happened and what's going on, who they got fucked up. And mind you, my mother was sick. My mom was fighting autoimmune disease most of her life. And during that time, it was active, but she would always play it off like a typical Virgo. They're not going to let you know how much they're actually suffering. So I didn't know until later that she was in pain, but she made herself look active at the time. It was late at night. She's usually asleep, but she made sure she stayed awake. And I couldn't talk. So my husband told her the whole situation. And my mom was like, don't worry about it. Like she didn't rub it in my face. She didn't say, I told you so. She didn't say, this is the reason why I wanted a child from poverty and blah, blah, blah. She didn't say any of that. She just held me while I cried and she just apologized. She literally apologized for my birth mother and the whole family and the whole both sides. She was just like, I'm sorry this happened to you. And it was nothing to do. I cried and she was like, do you want to spend the night? I'm like, no, I'm gonna take the rest of the ride home because I wanted to go home. But my mom was very supportive and she said, okay, baby, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay up if you want to call me on the way to the ride there, or you just want to call me when you get in? I was like, I'll call you when I get in. She said, okay. Again, my mom had full on sarcoidosis. If you don't know what sarcoidosis is, look it up. Bernie Mac, the comedian, died of pneumonia, which was due to his sarcoidosis coming back. My mom had the same disease and died from the same disease. But it's the what it does to your body, and especially to her body. My mom needed to be asleep, not up in the middle of the night waiting for me. And sure enough, I got in at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I called her. I think she called me, and she was like, "Did you get in? Like, I guess this is the time you'll be home." I was like, "Yes, ma'am, I'm here." She's like, "I love you." I said, "Thank you. I love you too." And then we hung up. Now that's a mother. That's my mama. That's my mother. Okay. The biological never called me. She never called to make sure I got in okay. She never called to follow up on our meet. She never apologized for not paying for the meal. She didn't do shit. She's not a mother. She's just not a mother. She's not a good person. She's an incubator and nothing more. Nothing more. And I'm not mad at that. But that's what an experience can look like. It could have been worse. It could have been raining. No, it's a saying. It's a funny saying my mom used to say. But um I don't really know. Like again, this podcast isn't all about me. I want to make that abundantly clear. And I'll probably do another episode letting y'all know this isn't about me. However, I am starting this off because with my story, because I'm hoping to encourage other people that have been through something so similar to share their stories. I want to hear everybody's story. I want to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions and views on this. And I'm starting it off with me, and my story is messy. And this is a background that I'm not ashamed of. It is what it is. This is part of my genetics. This is part of my makeup. This is my experience. And these are things that you have to consider when you're dealing with the system. The system is not here to help us. It's here to bury some of us, especially the black ones, especially the brown ones. We are not the favored children to adopt. Okay, we come from these backgrounds. It is what it is, right? We can't do anything about it. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about. Oh, in part four, in part five, I think I'm gonna chill with the parts for now and see if I can get some of the members, some of the biologicals to actually get on the mic, and you can hear their experiences, their experience with me. I'm curious to see how that goes. There's one person in particular that definitely would be good, but I just don't want to talk to her right now. That's the 6-year-old cousin. Me and her, we're clashing right now. But anyway, in the meantime, hopefully this was an interesting, helpful story for y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Don't look forward to part 5 anytime soon. Like I said, I'm gonna do other things, but I will complete the story. It's just so long and so extra. It's so long and so extra. But you got the meat and potatoes of it for the most part. But in the meantime, like, comment, download, subscribe, share, do your thing. Okay. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. It is also called Adoption Exposed. And let's just communicate. Let's be a supporting system for each other. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.